When I was about 8 or 9 years old, I first started really taking an interest in music. Now, you have to remember when I was 8 or 9 years old was, of course, back in the Stone Ages. So your your options were limited. Radio was mostly AM stations. There were a few FM stations, but back then they weren't like what you know now. Mostly what they did was they would just sometimes like simulcast a TV show that happened to be playing at the same time. I can remember if we had to be out of the house on Sundays at 11, and I had to miss wrestling. There was one FM station where you could hear the television broadcast. That was the extent of what we had. And the AM stations, we lived way out in the sticks, so there was only a couple of them that we could get, that we could get reception on, and they really didn't play any type of music that a kid would be interested in. So my parents were big country music aficionados. So that was basically all I had for an option. So back then, it was a lot of hee haw style music, and they did have Elvis, so that was pretty cool. Elvis was cool, but it was mostly just old country stuff. The real old school stuff. So I would start listening to it, take out the record player, and I listen to songs here or there because it was all I had to explore. And I remember one day I took out a Johnny Cash album. Didn't know that much about him, but I started listening to it. I was like, okay, this guy's all right. And I played a song called Sunday Morning Coming Down. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but again, I was probably maybe 9 at the time. And I started playing that song, and I had never had anything affect me, anything close to that manner before, and I don't know why. The lyrics were well above my pay grade, well above the head of some dopey hillbilly 9-year-old, but I don't know why they were really having an effect on me. Even there's a part in the song where he sings, in the park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl that he was swinging. And you would think to a 9-year-old, taken just by itself, that would be a happy thought. This man playing in a park with his daughter, but it wasn't. Somehow I knew that meant something more, and I felt like I really felt the heaviness in my chest, and it was like that man doesn't get to do that regularly, and it's almost as sad for him as it is joyful being with her. And as the song went on, every little bit of it touched a part of me. And it was stuff that I have no way, there was no way, I had no life experience to be able to understand it. But when he sings, and there's nothing short of dying, that's half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk and Sunday morning coming down. I don't know why, but when he sang that line for the final time in that song, I started crying. No idea why I was crying. Didn't understand why the song had affected me the way it did, but it was hugely impactful to me. And if I listen to that song to this day, as far as you know, I don't still cry, but it affects me. And it's just weird how out of the blue something like that can hit you, and especially someone like me. I'm not. This came up because we talk about it a lot at the channel. How we've seen all these sad moments, and you never see me with tears in my eyes. It's extremely rare. I don't fight them; they just don't show up for me to have tears in my eyes. But there are some things that get to me. To this day, Sunday morning coming down is still one of them. But I like making videos like this and just sharing things with you guys, things that I've been through, things that I've experienced. And I'll tell you some more of the things that really do affect me. Anime does. You've seen me when Meruem and Komugi are having their final game. That's pretty much the height of hitting my emotions. It's powerful to me. But there are some things that you wouldn't expect maybe that get to me and really do. And Sunday morning coming down is one of those things that, and it's just odd that after all these years, after 50 years or so, I remember that day. I remember being in my room. I remember playing that record. Remember putting the needle you had to line the needle up with the groove of the song you wanted. And the Sunday morning coming down, I lined it up. And it's like in the next 3 to 4 minutes after I lined up that groove, it kind of changed the way I looked at life.